What is going on, guys? This is Justin with Go Crazy Card Collecting. I've been having a great time with this series. These Arkansas boys and from this book, Backroads and Ballplayers. It's been a great book to read. It's really easy to read, and it's just a collection of stories. There's no chronological order or anything like that. You can literally bounce around from story to story. It tells it as if there's no reference to the other story. So it's been great. And I'm building this awesome little collection of these Arkansas guys. Now that 33 Goudy's a buddy of mine. I will get that card eventually. But, this 56 Kell and my Kell and Skeeter Kell, or my George Kell and Skeeter Kell autographs. Gene Bearden right here, which I told you guys about last week. If you haven't seen that one, go see it. His story's pretty crazy. This is my Greenbrier 1946 Sporting News ad. And then this is the one I'm going to talk about today. This is Preacher Roe, and I'll get to that in just a second. I just want to tell you guys what's kind of going on in my life. I'm a band director, and so things have been crazy, unbelievably crazy. One of our biggest things that we do is called concert assessment, and we have to put together 3 pieces, take them to concert. We have judges, and they score us on 5 being poor, 1 being superior, 3 being good, and so it's been a crazy, crazy whirlwind of a couple weeks, really a whole semester. And my band went and scored superior ratings. So I was pretty excited about that. We're going April 15th. We'll be going to state in Jonesboro, Arkansas to compete against 15 other schools. Last year we did that and we ended up 4th, which was really, really great. So this year I hope that we can kind of either improve on it or at least repeat it. Anyway, that's really, really awesome. I just wanted to share a little bit about what's going on in my own life. And another thing is I wanted to give a shout out to Drew of Vintage Legacy. He got my number from Billy, gave me a call the other day. We talked for about 45 minutes. It was a great conversation, really good time. I appreciate it when you guys reach out to me. Getting to know you guys is really awesome. And I'm having a really, really fun time doing this. This has made my hobby experience a whole new level, and thank you for that. If you guys don't notice, I'm a little froggy. I'm trying to get over the last 2 weeks while we've been doing this concert assessment stuff. I've been trying to get over a little bit of throat stuffiness, all that stuff. So if I sound a little different, that's why. But anyway, let's get to Preacher Roe. He's right there. Drop the card. Okay. Here he is. This card is his 1950 Bowman. It's a fantastic card. I love it, and I found a really good example of it. It's in a CGC holder. It's the only CGC holder I got. I actually like this. I like the holder a lot. It looks good in the holder. It's a good-looking card, and nobody bid on it on eBay, so I got a steal on this thing. Pretty awesome. And Ash Flat, Arkansas is where it says he was born on the back. That's the cool thing about all these cards, is that their birthplace is Arkansas, and that's where I live. I grew up in Missouri. That's why I know Billy. And but I live in Arkansas now, and there are a lot of ball players that come from Arkansas. So let's talk about Preacher for a little bit. His story starts on page 218 in the book. It's right here. My bookmark fell. My daughter made me this bookmark for Christmas. So sweet. Anyway, there he is right there. He was an unbelievable athlete. Elwyn Charles Roe. So, in the early 1930s, they're in this town called Viola, Arkansas, which is near Missouri. It's up near the border. There was this stud pitcher, and his name, Charles Edward Roe. He was his dad. So, and he was almost 50, but he was a retired semi-pro baseball player. And so he was, he was well past his prime, almost 50, but he was still the best pitcher in Viola by a large margin. And not only was he the pitcher of this Viola town team, but he supplied most of the players as the the 6 Roe boys, his 6 sons, were filled in all kinds of spots. Preacher was not quite a pitcher yet, so he was in the outfield with his older brother. Even their daughter filled in. She was catcher sometimes, and her husband filled in as well as the 9th player. So the entire team in Viola, Arkansas in the 30s was made up of the Roe family. And they would travel. It says here, occasionally an entire team made up of the family. When 9 men filed for Fulton County Sheriff, the candidates promoted their speaking tour with a ball game against the Roe family prior to speeches. So it's kind of crazy. They would use, during the 30s, they would use on their campaign trail, they would play the entire Roe family in this game. And all 9 players were made up of the Roe family. So he was born in 1916. Okay. He grew up in a community called Wild Cherry, which is right next to Viola. His nickname Preacher came when he was just a boy. Some of you may know this already. But when he was just a boy, he got real fond of a local pastor. And so when people asked him his name, he'd say, "I'm Preacher Roe." And so it kind of stuck. I'm going to get a drink because it's my Stanley. Okay, anyway. His name kind of stuck. And so he just grew up with that name. And by the time he was a teenager, he was pitching for this family team that they were on. And he was fantastic. He had a crazy fastball, could throw pretty hard. And he started getting scouts to look at him. And this was 1934. So his dad, who was orphaned when he was younger, he was a doctor at this point, but he was orphaned when he was younger, did not want him to go straight into the major leagues because education was a super, super important thing to him. He was able to rise above his childhood and his situation and become a really prominent doctor in the town of Viola. And so he wanted Preacher to go get his education. So they enrolled in Harding University, where he played basketball and baseball. Now, he was a standout pitcher at Harding, like unbelievable. Scouts would come watch him. There was this big tale. It says, changed his perception drastically in 1937. He struck out 26 Arkansas Tech batters in a 13-inning game. Now let's think about that for a second. Just those strikes of the 26 batters is like 78 pitches, right? I mean, that's almost your pitch count, just striking out those batters. So pretty crazy. He went on to get a lot of recognition from that. And then later on, he would strike out 19 in a 9-inning game. And so all this was getting him recognition. And in 1938, his dad finally gave in when the St. Louis Cardinals made an offer. I didn't even know this. We know all about his years with the Brooklyn Boys of Summer when he was a Dodger. And he went to all those World Series with them and was a prominent pitcher on those teams. But he was called up and drafted by the Cardinals. They made him an offer of $5,000, and he spent 5 years in this organization. And quickly, he was called up to play a game which went terribly for him. He played 2 2/3 innings, pitched horribly. It says he faced 16 batters, allowed half of them to reach base, gave up 6 hits, 2 walks, 4 runs, and they were forced to accept the reality that it was not time for him to be promoted. So they sent him back down. That was his only stint with the Cardinals. Didn't even know that. I had no idea that Preacher Roe was in the Cardinal organization. So he ended up having a good year, but he was already well in his late 20s and past his prime. Like, obviously they weren't saying he's going to be a phenom anymore, but he was past his prime by his late 20s. And he was no longer, at one point, I think they were comparing him to Bob Feller. At this point, they were not doing that anymore. And so in 1943, he was, after a 15-7 season, which he had got some things together in the minor leagues, he was traded to the Pirates. I didn't know that either. I mean, I knew he was a Pirate before he was with Brooklyn. But I obviously didn't know he got traded from the Cardinals. But he got traded for two guys, which I cannot pronounce their names very good at all. I'm going to try it, though. Johnny Podgojny. I think that's what I said. Their names are right. Where are they? Well, that's funny. Oh, there they are. Right there. Johnny Podgojny and Johnny Wyrostic. How about those names? If you looked up, I looked up those guys in Baseball Reference, and there's a gap. So they were traded from the Pirates to the Cardinals in 1943 for Preacher Roe, and then all of a sudden they have a gap in their story from 43 to 46. They went to war. So they were traded to the Cardinals. They went to war. And this is something else I didn't know. So then Preacher, what do you think is probably going to happen for him? I'm sitting here pausing like I'm expecting you to answer the question. You expect him to go to war as well, but something happened. It said things were going so well for Roe that the tree that had fallen on him in the winter prior to 1944 season also contributed to his good luck in an unconventional way. Well, here's the deal. He hurt himself in a way that he couldn't pass his physical to get drafted into the war. And so instead of getting drafted, he was able to pitch in a diminished major league. And so he was able to get some reps, have a pretty successful time, and so he was making a name for himself again, but it was against lesser talent, because a lot of those guys had gone to the war. A little bit later, which this is crazy too, if you haven't seen the Gene Bearden story, you need to go watch that, because talks about his injuries and things like that. Now, the Preacher Roe had some injuries as well. Like, he had hurt himself on that tree falling on him. But in January of 1946, he was coaching baseball in Hardy, Arkansas, when an angry referee threw a punch at the unsuspected coach, toppled him into a steel railing. The injury sent Roe into the hospital, and it diagnosed with a skull fracture. Take weeks for him to recover, years for him to regain his pitching form, which he never fully regained the same form that he had before. He could no longer just whiz it past guys, and so he had to create a whole new way to throw. When he reported in 1946, he was not the same pitcher. Of course, he wasn't pitching in the same league either, because there were tons of major leaguers that were there that had come back for the war. So he had two pretty poor seasons right after that with the Pirates. Then they traded him. No, I take that back. They didn't trade him just yet. In 46, the backup catcher was an 18-year veteran named Al Lopez, who later goes on to the Hall of Fame. He stayed with Roe after games into the bullpen and worked with him and helped him recreate the way that he threw. In 1947, they traded him to the Dodgers, and you know his story from there. He was on those Brooklyn Boys of Summer, played in 5 straight World Series, won 5 straight pennants, had some good wins in those games. He was a big deal throughout that time. Branch Rickey had made another really good move, and he started winning in 1949. He went 15-6, which is kind of where this card comes in. I'm kind of all over the place, but I want to tell this story to you guys. I love this stuff. And it says, Preacher Roe's 15-6 record for 1949 carried a .714 percentage, best in the league. His earned run average, .279, was third best. He chalked up the only Dodger victory against the Yankees in the 1949 World Series, entered organized baseball with the Cards in 1938, and on their farm team for 5 seasons, and sent to the Pirates, traded to the Dodgers in 1947. So that's why I chose this card to get, because it talks about, like right there, it talks about the Cardinals, the Pirates, and him coming in and having his first really good season in the majors in 49 and winning the only game that they won against the Yankees in that World Series. He goes on to have as you know, a really good career with the Yankees over the next few years. By this time, by the way, he was already 31, 32 years old and had pitched half the games that he pitches in his entire career. So by the time he gets to the Dodgers, his career was already more than half over, and he still goes on to have a really good stint with the Dodgers. So in 1953, his 52 and 53, his innings started getting limited. And by this time he's 37 years old. But even with limited innings, he goes 11-3, which is probably pretty smart. Yeah, without the limited innings, he may not even get that record. So some great things, guys. This book is really awesome. There's some good names in here that you guys would love with Preacher, and I'm going to talk about Johnny Sane soon. It's really helped me and caused me to get some really cool cards. This is a really awesome card. These cards are really awesome. And so, and this ad from 46 is really awesome about the town right next to me. This 33 Gowdy is pretty sweet. Like I said, I'm going to get that. So I hope you guys are enjoying this at least a little bit. This might have, I'll be honest with you, with how tired I've been and how I haven't felt that great. I hope this even made sense to you. I'm trying to hold in a cough. I hope that made sense. This whole thing made sense to you. Preacher was awesome. Born in Arkansas, played ball in Arkansas, went to college in Arkansas, got drafted by the Cardinals, spent 5 years with the Cardinals, mediocre years until his final season, 15-7, still got traded, went to the Pirates, got injured, skipped the draft, got more injured, had to recreate himself as a pitcher. Al Lopez helped him do that. Ended up in Brooklyn. Branch Rickey got him, and that's where you know him. So there he is, Preacher Roe. Thanks, guys. Thanks for reaching out to me, Drew. Billy, thanks for communicating me, as always. I sent him a picture of this. He was excited for me when I got this. I sent a picture to Drew, too, just to show him, and he was excited as well. So these cards have been fun. A cheaper way to kind of enjoy this hobby and connect with your community and guys who came from your community. So some guys have reached out to me. Really awesome. Have a good one, guys. Be blessed.